federal government is preparing its policy on the next generation mobile networks, and one major player is expected to be left out. Security experts say all signs point to the Chinese company Huawei Technologies being excluded from 5G development process here in Canada. Critics have argued that Huawei's participation could give the company access to details on how, when, and where Canadian customers use their internet-connected devices. However, Huawei insists it does not engage in espionage for anyone, including China. Now, to talk more about this, we're joined by Ian Lee, an associate professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University. Professor Lee, great to have you aboard here on CP24 Breakfast. How do you read this Huawei technology situation here? Because this is something you've been talking about for years now.
You're right. I think it's inevitable that they'll be banned, and I'll explain why. There's really two separate but correlated sets of reasons. One is that China's national intelligence law, a law of China, compels all Chinese organizations and corporations to, quote, support, assist, and cooperate with state intelligence capabilities and research. So that's the law of the land. In China, they've compelled Chinese organizations abroad and domestically to work when called upon. The second reason I think is even more compelling, and that is that we're part of the Five Eyes. We've been in a very close partnership with the United States of America for, my goodness, over 100 years. First World War, Second World War, Korean War, and so forth. And we share all kinds of intelligence. And the American intelligence agencies have been very clear on this. They do not want, they've already banned Huawei, as have the Australians. And so I think that if we want to maintain our partnership with the United States, it's inevitable that we're going to have to ban Huawei.
Huawei, though, says, Professor, that they don't do, what is being sort of suggested by so many security analysts and experts about this. So how do we square this, that they're saying on the one hand, we don't do any of this, this isn't happening. Right. But on the flip side, so many people and analysts believe they are doing, in fact, just that.
That's exactly that. You've just perfectly summarized it. And I'm not trying to suggest that Huawei is not speaking truthfully. There's a problem, though, with what they're saying. They're saying we are not now doing that. Well, I don't think that the problem is, the concern is only with, quote, right now, today, at this minute. The concern is if they did supply critical parts to the 5G network, once it's installed, it can be accessed in future should Huawei ever decide to support and participate with the Chinese intelligence agencies. And I think that's the overarching concern. It's not so much the immediate moment. It's that once that capacity is embedded through the hardware provided by Huawei, if they were to do so, it's in the network, and you're not going to rip out thousands and thousands of kilometers of hardware once the network is built. It's a sunk cost, it's a reversible, it's a one-way path. Yep. And so I think that's the concern. And the American intelligence agencies have been very public on this repeatedly. Saying, essentially warning Canada, do not go down that road. And so I think that, we have to make a choice. Sometimes, as Pierre Trudeau famously said, to govern is to choose, and we're going to have to make a choice on this. Are we going to be partners with the Chinese or partners with the Americans? It
almost seemed like a choiceless choice when it came down to it, though, realistically. I mean, when Five Eyes are effectively saying, if you do this, you likely can't get that. Canada sort of played it up like we had a choice, but then there was sort of the two Michaels, the Meng Wanzhou situation that was sort of always in the background here. That's sort of been settled now, but was there really much choice for Canada at the end of the day? I appreciate the question very much. I really don't think we do have much of a choice. As I said, we've been in partnership with the United States. I mean, we share a continent. We've shared a continent from the very beginnings of the two countries and before that. And not only that, we have NORAD, we have treaty agreements with the U.S. on defense sharing. I mean, we have this incredibly tightly integrated economy because of NAFTA, 25, 30 years of NAFTA. And I just cannot imagine any conceivable way that any government, doesn't matter who the prime minister of the government was, could turn their back on the United States and say, we're going to be partnering in future with the Chinese government. They're the government that, locked up two of our citizens for over 2 years. I just don't think it would have flown in the court of public opinion in Canada, let alone with our allies. So moving from the political to the sort of end user side of things, what is this actually going to mean, though, for Canada and 5G? Is this going to limit our ability to advance or develop or sort of move on with that network? I mean, I know there are other global entities that do this, but what is it actually going to mean?
It may mean that it's a slightly more costly if there's less competition. We don't yet know. But in terms of the suppliers, I mean, there are some very major equipment manufacturers in the States and, of course, in Europe. The Swedes have been doing this for a very long time, and they produce top-notch technology. The Europeans produce top-notch technology, as do the Americans. So it's not as if there's an absence of alternatives or absence of suppliers. Whether or not we'll get the lowest price now, because European and American suppliers tend to be higher cost than Chinese suppliers, is yet to be seen. We may end up paying more, but we will end up with a security a 5G system, which is, remember, the backbone, really, of communications in the country, in every country, and will become the backbone going forward even more so. So it was going to instill confidence, complete confidence in the U.S. and our Five Eyes allies that we have a system that's not going to one day possibly be used against us.
Yeah, the price we appear willing to pay, it seems. Professor Lee, thanks for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast this morning. Great conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you.
ByBlacks Restaurant Week is a chance to experience highly curated haute cuisine and just good old stick-to-your-ribs food from some of the best Black-owned and operated kitchens from the corners to the core across the GTA and across the country. There's a live shot, Chopper 24, high above Eglinton and Caledonia, Little Jamaica. And here with more for locavores is the owner, operator of Little Jamaica's Carib 21, James Gregg. James, good morning.
Good morning, George. How are you?
I'm good, man. So let's start at the beginning. A bit of the backstory behind ByBlacks Restaurant Week, and how did you come to participate?
Yeah, so as you know, a restaurant in the Eglinton, Little Jamaica community, throughout the COVID, we have always been looking out for initiatives that's been going on in supporting Black businesses. You know, it got to like a pinnacle when the whole George Floyd situation, there's a lot of initiative to support Black businesses. So we were always, on the lookout and, kind of creating a community around Black businesses.
Yeah, and we've seen how COVID, unfortunately, has also disproportionately negatively affected Black communities, BIPOC communities. What's it been like for you, James, before we get to ByBlack and the deals and everything else? What's it been like for you and the Little Jamaica community at large, just navigating through this pandemic?
Well, it's been extremely difficult, but however, unfortunately, we have been dealing with this type of situation before COVID, with the Eglinton Crosstown construction that's been going on for the past 8 to 10 years. So it's something that we have already been dealing with this before COVID, so it's something that we have gotten used to.
Right. Well, they say that's a pain for gain calculation, so we'll see how that plays out when it's finally done. All right, let's talk about food, James. What's on your menu? What deals are you offering for ByBlacks Restaurant Week starting now, going till Monday?
Yes, so for the ByBlacks, the deal that we have here at Carib 21, we have a fish cake served with a jerk aioli sauce, and it's served on top of a green salad. We also have, our famous jerk chicken macaroni pie, and to top it off, we have a rum cake.
Oh,
and
man.
all that only for $20. Only for $20.
Oh, that's an incredible deal. I'm telling you, James. What are your signature? What's your signature dish? What's your favorite dish to prepare and to share?
Well, for me, my favorite dish, we do like a poutine. So we have a oxtail poutine and a jerk chicken poutine, which those are two of the most popular, oxtail over, melted cheese on top of fries. It's awesome.
That is all good. Look, I have not had the pleasure of eating at your establishment, but I know a lot of people who have, and they say it's some of the best island food they've ever had. I want to know a bit about your background, James, from Jamaica, working in the hospitality and food service, to coming to Little Jamaica here in Toronto. What inspired you to open Carib 21?
Well, it's similar to most of the struggle that immigrants have coming to Canada. Migrating, I came here via Jamaica, Bermuda, been in the hospitality industry for over 20 years. But, coming to Toronto, it was extremely difficult to get the type of quality job that I'm used to doing in the hospitality. So after struggling for years, working, doing jobs that I didn't really want to do, my wife and I sat down and we decided that, it's time to take matters into my own hand and, open a business. So, we did that together 4 years ago.
That's the Canadian dream, the work ethic. You've got it, and it's paying off. Carib 21 on Eglinton West in Little Jamaica is part of ByBlacks Restaurant Week. For $20, you get an amazing meal. All you got to do is go to ByBlacks.com for all the details on the other 14 restaurants across the city that are participating, and it's happening across the country, and this all goes until Monday. James, thank you so much. James Gregg, the owner-operator of Carib 21. Thanks for your time, and thanks for making great food we can all enjoy. He hasn't donned the team jersey for 18 seasons and only wore one for 2. But you'd be hard-pressed to find another Raptor or Toronto Pro athlete, past or present, more beloved than Jerome Williams. His tireless charity work for youth causes is legendary, and he has a charm and enthusiasm rarely before seen in mankind. And Jerome Junkyard Dog Williams joins me now with more on his latest philanthropic partnership, kind of an assist to the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. And we welcome JYD to the show. Good morning, Jerome.
Good morning, George. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm good. It's so good to see you. You brighten our day every day when you join us here as a friend of the show. Look, let's get right into this project. The partnership you've made with the network of untapped entrepreneurs, new, and a $5 million honorarium they're providing to Black entrepreneurship through the acquisition incubator, Beta I. Tell us about it.
Yes, Beta I is a great program. George, we've seen this wealth gap increase over a long period of time. There's systemic barriers in place for Black entrepreneurs. Me being a former athlete, having success in Toronto, I know the importance of giving back and helping those who are less fortunate. And these are some talented folks. So Beta I is a program that taps into this talent. It really does. It mentors these young Black entrepreneurs, puts them in position where they can be successful. And all of us need a little leg up. Mm-hmm. And it's a little harder in this community, in the Black community, to sometimes get these things done just because of the things that are put in place. Yeah. So Beta I is a program that helps them. It mentors them. It puts them in a position to really be in a position to own. And that's very helpful to all of society when you have more people having a piece of the pie.
Jerome, how has COVID and how has the George Floyd racial reckoning exposed and maybe even amplified the inequities and the challenges here for Black entrepreneurs? Things that were already there, right?
Yes. George Floyd just really put out a serious cry for help. It really opened up the business community's eyes, the things that have, might not have been in the shadows, but brought to the forefront. Because of George Floyd, things were being talked about more, and quite frankly, George, things were being exposed. And at the end of the day, everybody has to contribute and be a part of this overall, success of the entire community. It can't be done just by one community. It has to be enhanced by the people who have been in position. And Beta I reaches out to those institutions, those networks, to just become a part of the conversation and really, see us as what we are, people that contribute to the community and people that can, be of assistance.
Jerome, you've made such a great transition from sport to your personal career, very successful, and all your philanthropy. Do you recall, were there moments, were there mentors in your past that, helped you to succeed?
Absolutely. At Georgetown University, where I graduated and I'm alumni, there was a lot of education on my part and a lot of people that were willing to help me. And what happened when I received that help is that I got the chance to also witness things that were happening to other members in my community. Very silent things, and being labeled as you're one of the good ones, or you're different. Mm. Well, I was different in the fact that I was handed an opportunity. I was handed an opportunity that I took advantage of. Coach John Thompson was one of the most famous Black coaches in America, and every person that he chose to take off the streets, every person that he chose to give an opportunity to, fell underneath of that umbrella. And me being one of them, I understood after graduating, after being in those situations, that I did have a leg up. I did have some assistance because of him. It was another Black man that took the time to see something in me that gave me a leg up. And what happens is, when that happens, you have to do the same thing. And that's what Beta I is all about. It's about doing the same thing and seeing my opportunities and being willing to help and try to create opportunities for others.
Great program. Look, I got to get you out of here on this. The Raptors. What do you make of this young rebuilding squad and the basketball factory that Canada has become in the last 10 years?
Well, you know what? I'm glad that in 2001, when we made the playoffs and beat the New York Knicks, that our team kind of set a stage for a lot of young basketball players in Canada. We've seen them thrive. Just watching players like Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Olynyk, Corey Joseph, my man Tristan Thompson, guys that brought up the first generation of Canadians. The Raptors are taking full advantage. I love the fact that they have new players such as Scotty Barnes out there just making amazing plays, being those team energizers. And you got the veterans like Fred VanVleet, who have stuck with the Raptors and are still, a part of the chemistry that's going to propel them back into the playoffs. I feel as though this is a good team. I like the way that it's put together, and I think that they're going to have success down the road.
Good to hear. Lucky 13, Jerome Williams. For more on this entrepreneurship program, you can mentor, you can support it, you can volunteer, you can apply for the grant money. It's info@betaicanada.org. Jerome Junkyard Dog Williams. Barking mad, but happy to have you on the show. I was waiting for it. I knew you'd give us some love.
Come on, George.
It's so good to see you, man. You just make us all happy. Thanks very much.
George.
Have a great day, and thanks for doing this work on behalf of everyone. All right. Doesn't that make you want to just get up and dance, right? The Pride of Antigonish, Nova Scotia, the Trews, releasing their first new music in 3 years with a new record called Wanderer. It's out tomorrow. And here to discuss the disc are the Trews, Colin McDonald and John Angus McDonald, both live this morning from different locations within the region called the Hammer. Brothers, Good morning.
Good morning, George.
My hat game's weak. I should have worn something. Feel bad.
Well, good to be here nonetheless.
Guys, good to talk to you. Colin, I'm going to start with you. We'll just go sort of one off so we don't step all over each other. The record's out tomorrow. Is it fair and accurate, Colin, to call this a pandemic record?
I think it's a lot of songs were definitely influenced by the pandemic. We had a lot of time to sit around and write when we were in lockdown, and we did a lot of the writing over Zoom and stuff, and it kind of kept us occupied through the long year and a half of not playing shows. So I think it's like 75% got songs that are influenced by the pandemic, and then the rest of it was the part of the record that was started back in 2019 before all this stuff.
Well, John Angus, let's talk about that, the genesis of the record. Where did it start before it ended up where it is?
Started down in Nashville. A friend of ours, Rich Robinson, who plays in the Black Crouse, he had invited us to come down and do a session in Nashville in December of 2019, and it went really well, and we were all high-fiving and happy with the results, and our label was stoked, and we made plans to go back in March of 2020 to pick it back up again, and we all know what happened next, so we had to kind of pivot, which has become the catchphrase of the pandemic, I think. And like Colin said, we were gifted with more time, which as songwriters, you never have enough of. Nah. So we were able to do a little more work. We had to rejig our plans and work with different producers and at different studios and at different times than we had intended. This record probably should have been out more than a year ago. It just wasn't meant to be.
Well, Colin, let's talk about time. Time can be the enemy. I want to know, are you guys studio rats? I mean, do you just sweat the technique and fetishize and finesse every beat and phrase? You find it hard to stop it, drop it, mix it, release it? And did COVID sort of change the studio game at all?
Yeah, totally. We were always we're much more of a live band. We tend to, an album is a means to an end to get back out and get on the road. So I think that we definitely had more time to work on the sounds and be in the studio a bit longer, get better at technology from home, and so yeah, this is definitely more of a it's live off the floor, but we spent a lot of time on the sounds and a lot of time in the studio.
John Angus, your music's just a great mix of party and politics. It's got a very anthemic quality. Do you share the band kind of a singular, vision when it comes to making the music? How does it all come together with the songwriting process? Is it sort of disparate and then it distills down into one song?
Yeah, I'd say like the process is that we have no real process. Everybody's a songwriter in their own right, and we all approach it in a very different way. Some more methodically than others, some more inspiration-based than others. But at the end of the day, we tend to get together and work it up as a band. And as long as Colin's singing the songs and I'm playing guitar and Jack's playing bass and we're all singing, it's going to sound like the Trews in the end. We might think we're going out on a limb and trying some new adventurous thing, but in the end, it just ends up sounding like our band. So it's sort of an accidental sound in that way. Oh,
a joyful noise. Nothing like it. Colin, just to pick up at the end here, last thing, you touched on it. Playing live music, right? That's completing the creative circle for you guys, obviously. But what it was like as a fan of music this last year and a half, not being able to go to shows too and just soak it in.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I mean, we couldn't do any of the fun stuff. What we did a lot of live streams. Like I would live stream from my couch on every Friday night during the pandemic for our fans over Instagram and Facebook and just take requests. And that ended up being really good for me too, just to be able to have some way to connect with people. Like knowing that we couldn't get out and play on stage. So, we tried to do that. Obviously not the same thing, but definitely really looking forward to getting back in the swing of things and get back on stage. Yeah.
Colin and John Angus McDonald, the Trews' new record, Wanderer, is out tomorrow. 25 years of making music, fellas. Thanks for getting up early. Appreciate it, and good luck with the new stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Glass blowers! Hey. I'm your holiday hot shop host, Bobby Burke.
All right, if you're looking for ideas of what to check out this weekend, film critic and host of Pop Life, Richard Crouse, joining us as he does every Friday morning here on CP24 Breakfast. The first one based off that surprise smash hit, Blown Away. We just had a sneak peek at that. Richard, tell us more about this one.
Okay, Blown Away took me by surprise. Earlier on in the pandemic, I was looking for something interesting to watch. I came across this competition show on Netflix, and I was hooked. I think I binge watched the entire first season in one day. And there's a couple of things I love about it. One, it was shot in Canada. The contestants are by and large American, and Bobby Burke from Queer Eye is here to host this Christmas edition of it. But I love that it's competition show that's all about making something beautiful. It's not about arguing with the other contestants. It's not about any one-upmanship, any of that sort of thing. It's all about the craft, and I really like that. And it's about glass blowing, something I didn't know anything about. So you learn something, you get to see some cool things. Check out the entire series. There's a couple of seasons out already, but Blown Away Christmas is on Netflix right now.
Yeah, it looks fascinating, and you're right. Like glass blowing, when you actually see it happening in front of your own eyes, you can't believe what they can do and how it's done. So yeah, pretty remarkable stuff. Cool. Yeah. HBO's got an interesting golden arm here, Richard.
Yeah, this is a movie that came out during the pandemic and kind of came and went. And I thought a little bit unfairly so, because it is a little gem. It is about a woman who's running a bakery. It's failing. She can't seem to make ends meet. And then one day, her friend, who happens to be a championship arm wrestler, gets injured and says, "You're strong from moving sacks of flour and doing all that kind of stuff. You can be in the arm wrestling nationals for me." So the baker takes over, and all of a sudden, turns out she has the golden arm. She's really good at it. And this is a movie about self-discovery. It's about female friendship, but it's also like hysterically funny. Great performances all around. It's a real winner. Check it out. It's called Golden Arm, and it's on HBO and Crave right now.
Looks a little better than Over the Top, which we won't discuss from the 80s. Right?
So that's just movie. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, all the Trekkies out there are celebrating the 55th anniversary of Star Trek now, Richard.
Yeah, this is a big deal. This is on Crave. It's called The Center Seat, 55 Years of Star Trek. And it looks back at the series from its inception at Lucille Ball's Desilu Studios all the way up through to all the new shows that we have now, like Star Trek Discovery and all the things that are still on the air. But most of the main players are back for one-on-one interviews, and it kind of walks you step by step through the television shows, through the movies, and how Star Trek became kind of interwoven in popular culture. It's called The Center Seat, 55 Years of Star Trek, and you'll find it on Crave.
All right, that's a good one too. Indeed, Richard, we got to let you go now, but of course I've got to let you go saying live long and prosper and have a great weekend.
If I could do the thing, I would. There you go.
Something like that, right? Yeah, there we go. All right, I got it. Okay, Richard, thanks so much. Bye-bye.